Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal, and I host the podcast Alternative Interests with my best friend, Elle. We're Washington natives that love true crime, the supernatural, and all things weird, dark, and spooky. Join us every week as we take turns sharing our own twists on the garbage humans that commit crimes, or a paranormal story that we have been obsessing over. Whatever topic we cover, this show is sure to capture all of your alternative interests. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hello and welcome, agents and new listeners. If you wish to stay up to date with the latest episodes or any news you might have missed, please follow us on Twitter and Instagram or join our Facebook page. If you'd like to join in and start in some conversations with other agents, please, we have a Discord server available to everyone. We also have our episodes available on YouTube, so please consider subscribing and share with all your friends. Thank you for your time. Now let's get on to this week's case file. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Files Obscura. We have quite a fun case today. We got tales of time travel, invisibility, and all kinds of just bewildering, descriptions of just nonsense. And today we have with us Cece
Hiya.
and Nathan.
Hello.
So please forgive me. I'm not feeling the best. The past couple of days I've been a little under the weather, and luckily my voice seems to be good enough to record today. So we're going to try to make it through everything, but I'm not doing too good. I've been a little delirious. So I'm waiting for my medicine to kick in, which should be any second right now. So I apologize. But enough about me. How's everyone doing today?
Yeah, I'm not doing great either. I could be better.
Oh, I'm all right, I guess, all things considered.
I feel like there's something going around because there's been a lot of people around me who's been getting sick today. So it's not just me. My coworker was she lost her voice the other day, like completely. It was funny because it happened right in the middle of work.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean it was horrible. Don't get me wrong, but it was funny.
Good timing.
Yeah, I wish it doesn't happen to me. It because would not be good. But like I said, we have a very fun story today. We have the Philadelphia experiments. Now, I wanted a little bit of a shorter story, but I wanted something that would be just as fun as some of the other things that we've covered. So I had this one kind of saved for a little while that I wanted to talk about. I think I've had this one since like episode 4 or 5, whenever we were covering the pandemic. So you guys ever heard anything about the Philadelphia experiment? Have any idea what it might be about?
No, not me.
Nope. I mean, I think I've heard it before because it sounds familiar, but my brain's just going, yeah, you don't know.
Well, today you're gonna find out.
Hell yeah.
So as always on here, it's tradition that we go through a little game of two truths and a lie. You guys ready?
Yeah.
I am determined to see if I can get this again. I want to keep my streak up.
Yeah, you've been going on a good roll. Vlad would have joined you if you got the answer right last week, but again, Vlad's not here. He has to go to work, unfortunately. That sucks. But let's get on with the episode. So, our first statement is going to cover a very notable figure in this story. His name is Carl M. Allen. Now, Carl M. Allen is known as kind of the father of the story. All sources kind of lead back to him. One of the things that he was noted for in the story was that he sent a book, a certain special book that we'll get into later, that covered part of his beliefs and everything about the story and the events and his role in it. But he sent a book to ONR, which is the Office of Naval Research, filled with annotations that he wrote in there in pink. Now, a little notable thing that he did about this is that he wrote it in 3 different styles and made it look like it was a conversation between 3 different people.
Huh.
Yeah. I didn't expect you guys to be a little stumped by that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, I personally find it hard to write different people's points of view, so if you can do it more part time. Also, I'm sorry if you heard that motorbike that just passed by my window.
It's okay. But yeah, His story is fascinating and absurd, but he's got nothing on this next guy that we're going to cover. His name is Al Bialik. He claims that he traveled through time into the future and saw the 28th century and saw a world governed by computers with no government and stuff like that, and medicine could heal you with light and vibration and stuff. And it's crazy.
If only.
Nice.
Right. But he also had other tales of like going to Mars and stuff like that. So
That'll be crazy.
yeah, just a bit. But then of course, digging into the story, I had to find out, what actually happened because stories like this don't just come out of nowhere. There's got to be something, a misunderstanding or a misinterpretation. So I dug into the real events that is recorded by the naval researchers that were there at the time, and I found out that the experiment, had simply been testing a glow paint, be used as like an active camo during the day, whenever they're far enough away from other ships. So that way, it was as if they were invisible sheen on the water. And the theory goes that got misinterpreted to being made invisible completely. And so the story just kind of took off from there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, people always want mysticism and fantasy.
I mean, it's pretty mundane. But at the same time, this was during World War II, which should be oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm just not feeling it right now. But I gotta push through. This was during World War II. This event took place in 1943, but there are disputed dates about when exactly it happened. So keep in mind, whenever you're, 1943, you still got 2 more years before the war would be over. The Americans are trying to test everything that they can do to get ahead, but I mean, it's nothing close to what we got now, so they got to test all kinds of things. Hell, they even tested a ship made out of wood pulp and ice. The things that they would
How would that float?
Believe it or not, there's a material called pykrete, which is made out of ice and wood pulp, a mixture of 14% wood pulp to water. And this had a uniquely buoyant property that made it sturdy. The problem is, of course, you got to keep the ship cold. It just was not seen as a viable material because they were
Yeah,
running.
no, I see why.
Well, they were running out of steel as an item to use in their warships and stuff. So they were trying to look for other materials to like swap out. But yeah, it was a real thing considered for a time. A little bonus fact right there for you.
Huh.
Yeah, it's called
Could work in the Arctic, I guess, if you tried hard enough.
it's called pykrete. Pykrite, I believe. I had to like spell it out for a sec.
I have to look into that at some point.
Yeah. To get back to the two truths and a lie, like I said, we have our three statements. We have Carl M. Allen and his mysterious book that he sent to ONR. We have Al Bialik and his claims of traveling to the future through time to the 28th century. And then we have the impressively mundane reality that they were simply just testing glow paints. You have 1, 2, and 3. Which ones are your lies?
I knew when I heard that this was going to be difficult to decide
Of course.
because all of them sound like they could be true.
Yeah, exactly. I'm good at that.
I still managed to get you out 4 times in a row.
Yes, you did.
Oh man. I will go with oh man, yeah, she made a good point. Yeah, they all seem pretty plausible in their own right.
Yeah, exactly. And with the context of this being around the end of the World War II, I mean, it kind of brings in the outlandish, anything's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Nazis being a thing prevalent in media still to this day for a reason. Hitler and Nazis as a joke has been used online for, decades now at this point.
I'm going to stick with the third one as lie.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I know that during the wars, the army have tested for stranger things.
Yeah, but they also tested a lot of reasonable things. What says you, Nathan?
I'm gonna go with my gut and just say the second one. I don't know. Something's telling me it's that one.
Yeah, you don't think Al Bialik claimed to travel through time?
I don't know. I don't know. Just I feel like that one definitely is plausible. I feel like the first one, the last one were definitely I don't know.
Grounded in reality for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So CC, you're sticking with the third one?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the third one.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and lock you guys in. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. As always, we start with a little bit of background information. I looked in to try to find a good outline of a reference for the entire legend of the Philadelphia experiment. Here's how it goes. Project Rainbow. The date is disputed, but the year is not. It is 1943. The destroyer escort class USS Eldridge would carry out a highly classified mission in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. It was said many witnesses saw the ship develop a green fog engulfing the ship before it disappeared entirely. It would, for a short period, reappear in Norfolk, Virginia, before pulling the same disappearing back and reappearing in Philadelphia the very same day. However, the crew would suffer grievously. Some went crazy, and others developed mysterious illnesses, and however grotesquely, 5 men would be fused to the ship. Their flesh ends and the metal begins at the same point. Reporters would link Einstein and his field theory to being close to solving its secrets of what happened that day.
Oh, that is a horrible mental image.
Oh yeah, there are other stories linking to this legend about a bar fight that happened several years afterwards, where several sailors were seen to get into the bar, start a confrontation, get into a fight, and then all the sailors mysteriously just vanished, as if slipping through time and reality.
That was probably a bunch of drunkards saying that, though. So.
Oh, that is probably one of the most tame things you'll hear about this story today.
Oh, yikes. What have you got in for us?
It's a fun one. Like I said, it's a short one, but it's a fun one. So that is, there's a bunch of other stories I could include, but we would be here all day because so many people would come out and add to this story as time would go on that it kind of took on a life of its own. And then people misinterpret and reinterpret things online all the time. So even original sources often contradict what people believe nowadays. But
yeah, I guess to a certain point you'd expect it to become a legend.
Oh yeah. But I decided to look into where, it was first mentioned. The most commonly accepted source is a man named Morris K. Jessup. He was an author and astronomer. Morris would receive letters from an anonymous sender who would go by the name of Carlos M. Allende. He said that he witnessed the event and gave descriptions about the event. He had recently published a book called The Case for the UFO, which would be later connected to the author of the letters. That'll be the book that comes up later. He would call himself Carlos Miguel Allende, but in another correspondence letter, he identified himself as Carl M. Allen. Jessup would call Allen a crackpot after his accounts, claiming the ship went invisible, teleported to New York, jumped dimensions, encountering aliens, and time traveled before returning, which resulted in several sailors' death, claiming some had been fused to the ship. Yeah.
That sounds like somebody who is not mentally stable.
Now, keep in mind, he sent about 50 letters. 50 letters he sent to the author. Oh, yeah.
That guy had a lot of free time.
Yes. Now, see, Morris, he, was pretty well educated. He was a skeptic, but he did like to push for the idea of aliens existing. He did like that idea. However, he immediately denounced Carl whenever these letters were coming out, but other people started taking notice as time went on, and it just did not play in his favor. As the above witness witnessed the event, the Office of Naval Research would reach out to Jessup in the early part of 1957. They had received a parcel that had Happy Easter written on the front of the envelope. Inside was a copy of Jessup's book, The Case for the UFO, which had a massive amount of written annotations. they were written in 3 shades of pink and appeared to be a detailed correspondence between 3 people, with only one of them being given a name called Jemmy, Jemi. Now, people believe that one of these, which supposedly Jemmy, was an alien, or at least that was what the attempt was to be made. ONR would go to label the other 2 as Mr. A and Mr. B. ONR would also later determine that the majority of the annotations, at least, were written by Carl Allen, and with the subject matter that he was talking about, and with the handwriting, and analyzation, they were pretty confident that the majority of it was definitely written by him, and could safely assume that the whole thing was. However, despite knowing all this, ONR actually later published 127 copies of this book that they funded through the Texas-based Vero Manufacturing Company. This may have partially added to the growing downfall of Jessup when he would fail to publish any more books and then be dropped by his publisher. His wife would soon divorce him in 1858, and he committed suicide in Florida April 30th, 1959.
Jesus Christ, the poor guy.
Yeah. It is not a happy tale for Jessup.
Things went downhill from very quickly.
Oh yeah, it's a tragedy. A lot of people attribute Carl Allen's actions and claims as to be a massive reason for this, thinking that he ruined this man's life. Oh yeah.
Just sounds like it was more of a series of unfortunate events that just got to the guy.
I mean, it does seem like that, but at the same time, like, it all started with the book and the letters, because his first book, The Case of the UFO, when it was published, it was received moderately well. It wasn't widespread, it wasn't a bestseller, but he received some money from it, and then he got the letters, and then that's what ruined it for him. I don't know, that's just my opinion on it.
It sounds like the letters either got to him or he just went, nah, screw this, and I was like, well, you're wrong. So
I don't know.
Either way, it definitely got to him at the end of the day.
Yeah, it did. But I got a little interested with Carl Allen, so I decided to look into him to see how he fits in on this other side of the coin. Like I said, he was considered the originator of the legend. He would send over 50 letters to Jessup and would give his account, which was, in one letter he sent, try to squash rumors about people claiming that he was a fraud by saying, Einstein's unified field theory had been proven because he witnessed it in the USS Eldridge disappear, and that was proof enough. This is whenever he would go in to give his accounts, of what happened. Many suspect Carl's letters led to Jessup's suicide, and he would go back and forth, confirming and denying over the years whether he actually believed in it or just saying he was messing with the media and stuff like that. To anyone who believes in government cover-ups to that extent and everything, this is like fuel to the fire. Of course, he's got to be quiet. Of course, he's got to deny it. He's got to stay safe. He's got to lie to everyone if he wants to live. He knows too much, kind of deal. Which, I mean, I get the logic, but it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it makes very little sense.
Yeah, but,
I mean, to an extent, I think it's 2 people who both weren't perhaps mentally sound.
I don't know, because here's the problem. Even if Einstein's unified field theory was proven, it wouldn't go on to explain anything that happened that he claimed happened. Like, it doesn't. Yeah, that's the problem. It doesn't prove that.
It's just more saying, if this means this, then therefore this has to mean this, but it's a non sequitur. They don't correlate.
Exactly. But looking into him, only one thing that he did claim was actually true that panned out. That he did actually serve as a seaman, Carl Meredith Allen. Um, he would go on his entire life, still claiming that this happened, and that this proved Einstein's field theory, that he talked to Einstein and made even more outlandish claims until he died in 1994. And it's crazy to me, you know. I just there's a lot more to the story, of course, you know, but again, much like, all the additions to the story as the legend grows, this was just too much to get into, on its own. Especially,
Hmm.
yeah, it's crazy because there was like 20 something people that I read up on that added to this, big and small alike. Really just try to stick with the big ones, you know. But this is the biggest one of them all. A man by the name of Al Bialik. He he amazed me. Sorry, I'm just trying to mentally prepare for what I'm about to read because it's just a crazy. Um, to start, in 1984, there was a movie made that they made about the experiments. It was called the Philadelphia Experiments, and it was about two sailors who were aboard the ship whenever it was going off, and the two sailors would jump into the water, and when they got out of it, they popped up in America in 1984, and they would go around trying to understand where they were at, because they were in the middle of the desert in Nevada for some reason, and they were trying to understand what happened to them. One of them gets taken by the police and sent to a hospital to be treated. Another one steals a car with a lady in it. They find one of the sailors' wives, who was now a senior citizen at this point. It's a crazy story. I did not watch the movie. I after reading the synopsis, I couldn't. But this movie would apparently go on to awaken something, a repressed memory in Al Bialik in 1990 or 1989, something like that, one of those 2 years. He would claim that he would sit down and watch it and would remember something from a long time ago about his experience with the experiments. He would claim that the true goal of the Navy wasn't invisibility, but time travel. Now, Al was born in 1927 and claimed he would serve as a lowly naval officer in 1943. That's a little weird because that would make him 16, which doesn't make sense. So already we're kind of
You'd be too young.
exactly well. It's not to say that people didn't lie to get in. Many people did lie to get in. So it's not that it's impossible, but to be a naval officer in 1943 doesn't add up. That part just no. But he probably served a little bit later, and his accounts were just wrong. But yeah, that's what I found online a lot. Of course, he joined, during the war effort after feeling compelled to stop Nazis. So that's why he joined the Navy with his brother. He claimed that on August 13th, 1943, Bialik and his brother were subject to the ship's experiments when they would want to try to jump ship to get to safety whenever they felt uncomfortable with the ship undergoing the experiment. But when they jumped into the water to try to swim to shore, they found themselves not in water, but in what seemed like clouds. And when they swam and hit land, he claims that they found themselves in the year 2137. Bialik claims when he was treated for his radiation burns in a hospital that healed him using only light and vibration, he would look around to see a world that was just completely unlike anything you would understand today. I mean, for starters, there was no entertainment necessarily. The only thing on TV was the news and any educational program. No cartoons, no dramas, no soap operas, nothing. No movies, just education. And detail that. So I wanted to include that one. But he also claimed that, the coastlines of every continent had completely changed. For example, Florida had been completely submerged except for the panhandle. Atlanta was now beachfront property, being only 3 miles away from the coastline, and the Great Lakes became the Great Lake. Just one big lake. And the Mississippi River pretty much cut America in half almost, as it expanded to be several miles across. Where was it?
This guy sounds like he was either on something or lying because he wanted the attention.
I don't know. Dude's just crazy. Just really, really crazy. But his account is what people go to the most whenever they look for authenticity, which baffles me because the science behind repressed memories has proven to be, just a lot of hooey. But yeah, this is what a lot of people believe, and it amazes me. But it doesn't end there. There was no central government for the USA. USA and Canada were gone. In its place was a locally enforced martial law system that kept people in check. This was supposedly the result of the USA and Europe banding together to stop China and Russia. In 2005, I want to add. That's when he said this happened. In 2005.
Sorry. Bloody hell.
I mean, think about it. With the EU and the USA really ramping up, and with USA really trying to be the aggressor with China right now, Russia, of course, is always backing parties with the communist backing. So, I mean, how will the history books look at things in 100 years? I don't know. I'm just saying. Maybe. He claims that this killed the global population at the end of it and dwindled us down to 300 million people. Not billion, but million people.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, we're at what, 7 billion now?
Mm-hmm. 7 and
Over?
almost 8 billion.
Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. And this global conflict, basically wiped out any form of world government. He claims he was then sent to the year 2749, where he lived for 2 years. Tech had supposedly advanced to the point humans made mobile floating cities. Government of any kind was non-existent, and everything was ruled by an AI called synthetic intelligence computer system. He claimed in 2749 there were no wars, no armies, and no conflicts that mattered. After this 2 years, he was sent back to 2149, where he picked up his brother, and everything after that was just crazy. His explaining how he got back, that he could just kind of travel back whenever he chose to, because he claims that everything was run under socialist values, therefore no one had any money for currency, and he chose to stay there for 2 years living with these people, but he felt compelled to come pick up his brother after talking to everyone he set up in 2749. So then he went back to 2137 to go pick up his brother, to go back in time, he said, to 1984, the year the movie was made, keep in mind, to go talk to a Dr. John von Neumann, who had convinced them to go back to 1943 to stop the experiment from ever happening. After Bialik left the Navy, he became an electronics specialist, and some military contractors took notice. They would recruit him and reveal that they were adapting alien tech and forwarding research into psychic operations, where he then claimed to be recruited by the Montauk Project, which might be its own episode in the future, but if rumors are believed, it deals with time travel, monsters, and kidnapping little boys.
It sounds like this guy was on a cocktail of things, to put it politely.
Yeah, just a bit. But again, there were all kinds of different stories. There's even a claim of another ship that was used in an experiment like this. There were claims that changed the color of the fog from green to blue. There were other people's personal time travel accounts, that took them to different years, different planets, even dimensions, talking to aliens. I mean, oh God, it's so much. It's so much crazy, and I love it and I hate it, because I'm like, I live in a world full of these kind of crazy people, but it makes it fun.
It makes things interesting, I have to admit.
It does. But like I said, this kind of story doesn't start from nowhere. There was a real life Project Rainbow. There was a real life Philadelphia experiment. But of course, it had nothing to do with this. Of course not. It dealt, with a degaussing technique, which sounds magical, but basically it's reverse magnetism. Because a big problem that happened with naval ships at the time was sea mines that would use magnetisms to let themselves get attracted to ships and submarines that would pass by, and they would detonate upon impact once they touched the ships. When that happens, of course, you lose the ship, and so you run into a problem that ships run into an invisible barrier they can't cross because it's a minefield. So the U.S. Navy at the time got a lot of people, and this was actually during the time when the British were loaning technology and lending helping hands to scientists, which would later on go help with the Manhattan Project that we covered. This group of scientists would experiment with, anti-magnetism properties and try to make ships, not non-magnetic. That way these sea mines would not be attracted to the ships and therefore be passed freely as if they were invisible to the landmines. Now, when this, actual comment was made, it is believed that got misinterpreted and the story evolved from there. But yeah, that's the short, sweet point of it. The actual history behind how all of this happened and the things that led up to it is actually really fascinating. Learning about the magnetron and British scientists at the time when they were ahead of the Americans, and all the technology that they were developing in World War II. And the exchange between them, the lengths that they would go to preserve the nuclear secrets of the time, everything that the British was giving over to the Americans, all the physical examples, they were actually held in a wooden box that had holes drilled into it. So that way, in case something ever happened to the ship that it was on, it would guarantee that it would sink to the bottom of the ocean where nobody could get it. I mean, the lengths they went to was absurd and crazy.
I mean, I guess if you're paranoid, then you may as well be paranoid, right?
World War II, you have a lot to be worried about, especially with Nazis. Yeah. But I
guess if you do want to stop Nazis from doing horrible stuff, one way is to say fuck it, destroy everything.
Right. But yeah, that was the Philadelphia experiment. Short, fun little story that I could have spent all day on if I really wanted to, just talking about this. But it would just be going down more nonsense and rabbit holes and non sequiturs. It just, a lot of things didn't make sense. Everyone's personal accounts of when it happened never lined up with each other, thus giving disputed dates. It feels like it was a game of Chinese telephone from one person to the next as the stories evolved. Just babble. But
I think everyone wanted something more mystical.
Yeah, everyone wants that little fantasy in life, but it's not going to happen with this one. But congratulations,
if only.
You got the answer right. I definitely lied about one of the most believable mundane things that I could have. They did not use a glow paint, which they did. The U.S. Navy did experiment with camouflages, alternating with light and dark patterns, but it wasn't to the extent of making things glow, unfortunately. Though I thought that would have been pretty cool. I did actually look into that to see if that might be a thing.
Then that would be cool. Glowing things are always cool.
But I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. I know it was a bit shorter than the rest. We just have a lot of things going on in the background and a lot of things planned for the upcoming month. So we are trying to handle a lot of personal business as well with all this going on. But do not worry, we do have other episodes coming up that we have planned. We are trying to get ahead and prepare for something a little more special in October. But until then, we don't want to say too much as plans are always subject to change. Um, but we hope to see you guys next week. I think that's about it for this episode, unless anybody has anything else to add. I think we're good.
No,
Oh, no.
I'm good.
I'm good, yeah.
All right. Well, hope you guys had fun. Can't wait to see you guys next week. You guys have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Peace
Bye,
out.
guys.